episode of Sports and Songs podcast. I'm your host, Dan. Today's season 5, episode number 7. Tonight is the Songs edition. Typically, we use this as a night to review an album. Tonight's episode is a little different. We're going to be reviewing a documentary, a rock documentary tonight. If you like the band Godsmack, the lead singer is Sully Erna. Documentary came out about his life. That's what I'm going to be reviewing here tonight on the episode. If you're into music, particularly Godsmack, you're going to love this. It's just a can't miss. If you're not into Godsmack and want to watch a good documentary, very well done, I would still recommend watching this. Here is the title, the poster. Now, the documentary is called I Stand Alone, the Sully Erna story. Yes, that's his name, Sully Erna. It's a feature documentary from the director Troy Smith, based on the memoir, The Paths We Choose, early access here on Apple TV and Prime Video. Now, Godsmack's lead singer, his name is Sully Erna. This is about him. It's not about the band Godsmack. It leads up to the full documentary from him growing up as a youth in Lawrence, Massachusetts, in a very hard, tough upbringing, tough life, tough lifestyle, and what he did to overcome that, basically reaching all the way up until the age 30. Lots of failures. And so what he did was really chronicle how he overcame those to become the lead singer, frontman of Godsmack. It ends there. Once they get the record deal and they start making their very first album, the documentary ends. It doesn't cover anything from the time they were together as a group. This is a documentary, once again, on his life growing up. The dude is 5'5", so a short individual. Was a very good drummer, was gifted as a very gifted drummer at a young age, and began at age 3 with a drum set. And the documentary talks about all the things he had to do to fight the gangs in the tough area they were, where murders and rapes were very common in their neighborhood, and how he had to stay tough and get through and battle these things. Also, at the same time, battling his own demons. Sully Erna was a practicing Wiccan for some time. A lot of his earlier songs, you can tell that in the lyrics and the lyrical content. He's not anymore, I don't think, but he's turned around, a happy guy now, and has his daughter that he talks about a lot, but really went through a lot of stuff. So this is called I Stand Alone, the Sully Erna story, a film based on Godsmack frontman Sully Erna's life story. Has been made available via Apple TV Plus and Amazon Prime. The song I Stand Alone is a song by Godsmack that he wrote. Basically, Sully Erna is Godsmack. There's great drummer, guitar work, lead guitar, and bass work, but the lyrical content is from him. So the song called I Stand Alone is a very good song about how he had to deal with a lot of things solo. He had to make through it. He had to make it his own way. And many times, because of his size and being turned down at every junction of the road, he was about to give up music. And finally, at about age 30, they got a record deal. And so that's why it's called I Stand Alone. It's a 98-minute documentary written and produced by Sully Erna, with additional writing, production, and editing by Noah Burlow. Noah Burlow, very good. If you've seen anything he's done, he's a young guy that's done a lot of the recent work with Sully and Godsmack up in that Massachusetts area, Boston area. Very young, talented guy, and directed by Troy Smith. So it was November 21st where Sully Erna shared a poster for the film, which is the one you see there on the screen on social media, and said, "I'm so excited to finally announce the release of my new feature documentary called I Stand Alone." Based on his memoir, The Paths We Choose. Myself and director Troy Smith and editor Noah Burlow have been working on this for almost 6 years. So just to put it in perspective, Sully Erna has been going through a lot of these issues and troubles up until they got the record deal. Since then, they've been making money, doing well, and have been very successful over the last 15, 20 20 years. But this is all before then. And so he wrote a book called The Paths We Choose that came out 6 years ago that had nothing to do with anything. It was his book that he wrote. And then a lot of folks said that, hey, you should make this into a documentary. It could be good. At the same time, folks were asking for a documentary on the band Godsmack. And he says, well, I'd like to do that eventually down the road too, but maybe we get this one running and get this one out first. And once again, you almost have to see it to believe these stories and know they're not made up. This is documented stuff. It's just unreal what this guy went through. So he wanted to say thank you to his family, friends, and loved ones that have helped shape me to be the man I've become today, for always believing in me and my vision to become the best I can be, and for your love and support along the way. Thank you for being part of my incredible journey. I wouldn't change a thing if I could. For the rest of you, I hope you enjoy this film and it inspires you to always find that inner strength to push you forward when life seems to knock you down. That's a good point. The main thrust of this film is the positivity that Sully had and how he got back up on his feet and pulled himself up by the bootstraps time and time and time again when life failed him, family failed him, girlfriends failed him, friends failed him, bandmates failed him. I mean, it is an incredible journey, and that's what he documented in the book. Now he made this into a film. And so what they did was they released it on Apple TV and Amazon Prime first. Now, you can also do a search for I Stand Alone, the Sully Erna story, as more networks are coming in soon. They're going to get this out. But this was just announced last month, December 21st. So 1 month it's been out there. I've seen it, love it, want to watch it again. Once they get this out there on more networks and becomes more popular, it's tough to find at first, but now when you find out that it's only on those two networks, you do have to pay the rental fee, log in, either buy it, download it, or own it, or rent it. You can see it. Very, very good. For more information, you can also follow the website called thesullyearnastory.com. Back in May of 2019, Erna confirmed via the Toddcast podcast about the thought of making a Godsmack documentary. And he said that was on the back burner because he was focusing first on the film based on his own story. But Erna said, I'm a fan of rock documentaries, although I've just finished recently just getting into them. Although though the Foo Fighters did a great job, I've watched a bunch of them. And it's not even rock he watches. He watches all these. He just likes real documentaries on artists. He loved the Amy Winehouse one. He loved the Whitney Houston one. Then he got into the story of Kurt Cobain. Metallica's Some Kind of Monster was amazing. I like a lot of that stuff. So he really got into this and said, hey, let's do this. Let's convert this book now into a film. Erna continued, as far as us, we're not doing a proper Godsmack documentary right now. We think it's just a little bit early for that, but I am releasing a documentary on my life story from zero, basically birth, until he gets the record deal, to show people the path I took and the struggles I faced and things like that. Erna previously told the Tampa, Florida radio station WXTB 98 Rock that his documentary would be, quote, kind of based on my book that has a lot of Godsmack elements in it as it gets toward the tail end of it, because it goes from the time I was born and all its struggles I went up until I got a record deal, and it kind of ends there, end quote. Erna's memoir, The Paths We Choose. Now, I did not read that. That sounds like another good one. It came out in 2007, a book about his life. It came out in 2007. At that time, he described it as a snapshot of the first 30 years of his life. He told the Pulse of Radio back then that it happened almost accidentally. He said, quote, I never planned on writing a book. It was just one of those things that became a hobby. When I was on the road, I'd be writing stories, and I talked to my friends on the phone and realized that some of these stories were so insane. And he's right. So insane that I'm not even sure I would have believed them unless, that they actually happened to me. And then the more I wrote out these stories, I started organizing them in the order of the dates. And the more that I did that, I started realizing, hey, I'm writing a book here. So the documentary, just like the book, it's a series of stories that are in chronological order that talk about his life, his struggles, how he overcame them, and how he came so close to giving up on so many things. He was a very good drummer, and the various bands that was in, he was the drummer. Then he was about to pitch it in and throw in the towel and said he was going to quit. And then when he really didn't have nothing else to go for, he says, "You know what? I'm going to start a band and be the vocalist." And I think, as they say, in the story, that they looked at him like, "Well, you're not a vocalist. I don't even know that you did sing." Well, he's got a pretty good voice, but he wasn't at first. He just got up there and belted out things. And then they hired a drummer to be the drummer. And he, as a musician as he is, very good pianist, keyboardist, and guitarist, very good guitarist. He became, now he's a frontman, also plays guitar, very good harmonica player as well, but doesn't touch the drums. So it was at that point that the band Godsmack came around, and they did well. Now, the lyrics, once again, most of the lyrics, I've been going back through and rereading the lyrics of his earlier albums when they first came out. Even now, up until today, the songs that they write, the lyrics that he has, they're all about his life. Very interesting, because he leaves, it's all there as an open book. He said in another conversation I read on an interview that he did, is, he put everything out there, the struggles that he went through, the problems with girls, his family. He's very close to his mother, but when his father left him at an early age, and then they went back and reconciled, and then he had issues with girls. And a lot of people through the ages, through the phase of all this, were riding the coattails hoping he'd make it big someday. And he found out that they weren't really true friends at all. And so he really had to go through a period of cleaning house. And the few friends that remained were true friends, and he really did this just as a big thank you to all of those. But very successful now, very cleaned up guy now, a family man, a father, doing a lot of things for charity, actually now that he's reached his 50s. But great guy. Once again, I'm a big fan of him and the band. I've seen them only once in concert. Really enjoyed their work. But if you're not a fan of the band, not a fan of him, even if you don't know who he is, I still would recommend popping in this DVD, streaming it, watching this documentary. Very good stuff. It's a lot to take in, but it's done very well. Hopefully it'll be out on additional networks and available for download, and Netflix and things like that for free. It would be a great thing, almost as a he almost could be a motivational speaker of what he's all been through. Once again, my name is Dan. This is Sports and Songs Podcast, Episode 7, the Songs Edition, the I Stand Alone, the Sully Ernie story documentary. Thanks for listening.